Welcome back to another episode of Proof of Vision. Today we had on Luca Netz, CEO over at Igloo. Igloo is, of course, the parent company behind Pudgy Penguins as well as the abstract chain. So in this episode, we actually got to go pretty in depth and to discuss just how expansive the Igloo ecosystem actually is. I mean, for those that aren't in the know or 100% familiar, the Pudgy Penguins ecosystem is extremely expansive. It's definitely much more than a token or an NFT collection, which is maybe the first impression that some people might have. It actually includes like multiple toys, most notably the plushie Pudgy Penguin that you may have seen this at Walmart and other high profile retail brands. But it also includes like games and other mediums. So it's more akin to like a traditional media brand, right? Something like Star Wars, for example, than anything else that exists in crypto today. So this was a great episode, maybe our best, if I may say so myself. And just some really good takes all around, some spicy takes even on just how teams should be operating in crypto and how Luca and the Pudgy team are able to, yeah, push out all these new features and the abstract chain. Welcome back to another episode of Proof of Vision, guys. Today I have the man on with me, Luca Netz from Pudgy Penguins. Luca, I mean, you don't really need too much of an introduction, but our audience is more focused on like the liquid token investing, like DeFi side of things. Do you maybe want to like give a brief background on yourself and then maybe kind of explain how you became like intertwined and engaged with Pudgy Penguins and how that has played out over the past few years?
Yeah, background on myself, 30-second version, serial entrepreneur, high school dropout at 16, got my first job at a tech startup called Ring Doorbell, made my career when I was 18 monetizing social influence, brought back Von Dutch in 2020 as their CMO. That really inspired me to do a couple other great things, which led to Gel Blaster. So I was the co-founder and CMO of a company called Gel Blaster, North America's fastest growing toy company, 0 to $100 million in revenue in basically 14 months. And all the while Gel Blaster was happening, I was a huge fan of NFTs. So I was collecting. I had a couple friends who had some projects, so I was able to help them a little bit and kind of poked around in that vertical. And ultimately, I fell in love with these Pudgy Penguins as a big NFT collector and a guy that was trading them pretty pretty actively almost every single day. I always felt like the Pudgy Penguin was the most prolific and the one that I felt like had the highest upside. So I was a big collector. Unfortunately, a couple months after, establishing my bag and my position within the ecosystem, the founders, at no fault to them, were just 18 and 19 years old in their college dorm basement, no operational experience, and they just weren't able to bring this brand to where it needed to go. And being a disgruntled holder rather than complaining, I decided to step up to the plate and put my money where my mouth is. If I believe in something, uh, I tend to do that, and so I bought the project, about 60 different assets, about April 4th, 2022. The vision there was we were going to build the world's next great penguin IP, but we were going to win and become the mascot in the face of crypto. And it's been a wild ride over the last 3 years. Obviously, alts and assets that are not Ethereum or Solana and Bitcoin haven't really done well. Uh, Pudgy has kind of bucked that trend, both on the PENGU token and on the NFTs. And more importantly, though, I think we've really represented the space, I think, in an extremely positive light. I mean, last week we rung the NASDAQ bell with Van Eck, with the Pudgy mascot. The CBOE picked up the Pengu ETF, which I think is super special. Obviously, we're in Walmart, Target, 10,000 different retailers across the country. Just announced a partnership with Line Friends and Pez, and we'll be in Comic-Con in 2 weeks. All of this success we've never taken from our community. We've never minted a collection, never done a pre-sale, never asked our community to fund us or to give us money. Everything we've done has been for the community, by the community, with the community, and is something that I'm really proud to have said over the last couple of years. And so that's our story. I think our story now is a little bit bigger today. So we have Igloo. So Igloo is the big igloo behind me. Igloo is the holding company that holds Pudgy Penguins, but also holds a couple other assets. The biggest one that most people are familiar with is Abstract. So Abstract is this consumer chain that is really focused on providing and bringing fun to the EVM. So I think there's a huge opportunity, one, in consumer interfaces, right? So Abstract, the chain, really lives through a website called portal.absx.xyz. I believe that chains should have and live through a central interface because I just believe it's a better experience. Um, and I think blockchain's a day or two fragmented. And then naturally, I think EVM is a little stale in the sense that it's not speaking to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and it's not fun. And I think we are going to be the group that's going to be able to speak to Gen Z and Gen Alpha and bring fun back to the EVM. And we hold a couple other companies, which I won't get into because it's not really public. But all of that is kind of circled around bringing, the masses on chain. I know everyone says they do it or that they want to do it, but I think we're one of the few, if not the only, I wouldn't say the only, but one of the few organizations that I think have really done it over the last couple of years, and proud to represent crypto in the best light possible.
Yeah, great primer. So yeah, we'll definitely have to discuss the abstract portal and, like the wallet too, all that good stuff. For I think for now, let's stay on Pudgy's. Let's yeah, I think you're definitely right. Like Pudgy's is like a really I mean, it really has scaled in the past several years. Like I'm actually you can't really see it. Yeah, I even have
Oh,
the Pudgy
yes.
shirt. Yeah, someone like a nice community member just gave this to me at an event randomly. Yeah, very nice. So the community is definitely there. Pudgy Penguins probably like the only like NFT related thing that like my mom has asked me about unprompted. So there's definitely like there's something there at the start before all this, and then now, as you mentioned, yeah, you have the toys. These are across, I mean, across the world, I guess, right? You're in Walmart. I know I've personally seen them in like in bookstores in Asia and stuff. Um, so let's, I like to ask these kind of questions for like anytime there's like a physical product founder, just because it's so rare. Like there's not that many physical products in crypto. Like what is some of the challenges, I guess, for scaling out that kind of product? Like manufacturing deals, like securing these deals with Walmart. Like, yeah, what are some interesting like takeaways from that whole process?
Yeah, the sell of crypto metrics, I think, don't move the needle the way that I thought they did. So I thought like billions of dollars in volume would excite Walmart, but like, to be frank, it's our Giphy numbers, it's our Instagram, it's our Twitter like that is exciting. Um, so I was kind of shocked by that. I think, what am I surprised outside of that? Not really, because my bread and butter has always been in consumer products. So I've gotten multiple products in Walmart, right? Like I'm in multiple different aisles, even today. Years after just prioritizing and being at Pudgy, still companies I own stakes in are on the shelf. So I wasn't surprised by anything there outside of, crypto has these big metrics that I think people that I think people overestimate. So, yeah, I think that's my take.
Right, yeah, I mean, maybe it can change it a little bit. Like I know I saw Walmart eyeing it was just some headlines like Walmart eyeing stable coins. Like maybe, you know, things can change a little bit and they're waiting of like the importance of crypto native metrics can increase a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, I definitely think it's interesting. Kind of like a one of a kind thing. Like I can't really nothing comes to my mind with thinking of like another crypto brand, I guess, that has that level of distribution or like kids in the US can just walk into a store and see it basically. Um but yeah, I mean the other more recent side of Pudgy Penguins is also as you mentioned like the PENGU token, right? So I mean this thing is I think it was recently listed on Revolut, was it? I know that there's the ETF in the works. So like, what is the team's thought process behind like the distribution of the Pengu token targeting like these like non right like listings outside of crypto exchanges outside of dexes on Solana and whatnot. Like, yeah, how are you guys approaching that and
Yeah,
making like the
I
Pengu
think you'll
asset?
I think you'll appreciate this. So I wrote this in my Igloo Investors Update channel. So I'll read it to you just the way that I wrote it, because I have like a Telegram channel with all of my investors, and there's like 100 people in there. And so I said, the strategy is simple. In a world where there's 50 million tokens, Pudgy Penguins PENGU will be available in all of the venues, joining a small cohort of tokens, probably around 30 to 40, that have true mass market retail penetration. Sure, there will be 50 million tokens out there, but only 30 to 40 will be accessible to the masses the way that PENGU will be. In a couple weeks' time, we will have secured every meaningful exchange in the world, and once that happens, that's when the fun starts. And then I follow it with secure all exchanges to cast the widest net possible for value capture, create demand, demand easily converts because there's no barrier to entry, win. Right. And so I share that because I think it kind of answers your question, perfectly, in the sense that the listing strategies, I'm so surprised people aren't thinking like this, because if the token is the product, right, like the product needs to be able to create conversion. But everyone thinks that the main 5 venues are the venues that are applicable for conversion. And I would argue there is a ton of venues that people don't know that have people holding 10, 20 million, $30 million worth of tokens. And there's so much value to capture there, right? Like, by the time this comes out, Webull would have probably listed us. It's another one that I think people sleep on. And it's just that differentiator. Now, granted, most people can't go do that because they don't have the pull that Pudgy Penguins does. No one turns Pudgy Penguins away, right? So when I reach out to all of these, Revolut, all these guys, like they know that they're gonna make money because of the volume and the demand and the traffic that we bring to their platform, right? Uh, but I do think it is super, super interesting that a lot of people aren't looking like this, because there's a exchange, like one's called BitCub, and then there's like M2 and Rain and UAE. There's real exchanges out there that, again, are not the top 6 or 7, that have real meaningful retail pressure. And our thing at Pudgy, and I think we've really prided ourselves on this, like, we tell ourselves and we tell our community, like, I don't think there's a better marketing team in crypto. Like, when you look at like impressions, if I want to get millions of impressions in a given day and I want everyone talking about Pudgy, we can do it. I just think we don't do it every day, because ultimately it creates fatigue, and then it becomes kind of snake oily, and then like it's just not a good marketing strategy to try to market every single day. But when we want to, we can, and we can take over the timeline. And that's really reminiscent on, maybe this last week, because we had a really big week rollout with the whole Van Eck and ringing the bell, and then the CBOE picking us up. But in a world where demand isn't our problem, right? What is our problem? Our problem is conversion. So, if we create a ton of demand, if we market a ton, but nobody, somebody goes to their local crypto exchange and they go and look for Pengu and they can't buy it, well, they'll never buy it, right? And I think our strategy over these last 6 months, especially since the market's been choppy, was like, dude, let's go get every exchange listing possible, so that when it's time to create demand and the market is willing and ready for demand creation, that we don't have conversion that drops off because we somehow, some way, don't have all the right venues. And so we've been hunting every venue possible. And I told the guys, because the paperwork can be a bitch, they're like, dude, these guys only get a couple $1,000,000 in volume a day. I'm like, look, if it's net $1,000 in buying pressure, we're doing it, right? Um, and I think we're one of the. I've never heard of anybody look at it through that lens. I've never heard anybody, like, I've talked to a lot of token founders. None of them are talking like that, right? Um, and I don't know why. Maybe because maybe it's not possible, or maybe they don't want to work for it, but I know at least Pudgy, we have the leverage so that, every exchange that we reach out, it's almost like, why isn't Pengu listed? And so, and we do our best to market to those venues, etc. But
Alchemix Finance empowers you to spend and save at the same time with a self-repaying, interest-free, non-liquidatable loan. Deposit your assets and access your future yield today. Available on Mainnet, Arbitrum, and Optimism. Head to alchemix.fi to get started.
hopefully that gives you some clarity and is probably a unique insight on the strategy.
Yeah, much appreciated. I mean, yeah, me too. I've definitely have, you don't hear many founders talking about like targeting BitCub. But yeah, that's it's like a 90, Bitcup has like over 90% of the market share in Thailand, like over Binance. So yeah, I mean, some of these smaller exchanges are definitely important, and obviously like the non-crypto, yeah, Webull, Revolut, like that's obviously huge. Maybe that's only more applicable to Pengu, not like some of these, infrastructure teams might have a harder time getting on those platforms. But yeah, I think those were interesting for sure, and like leveraging the brand. And I mean, like on the note of brand, like I want to get your thoughts on this more generally, because I think Pudgy Penguins is definitely like the team in crypto that has, well, for one, like established a proper brand, like not just yeah beyond NFT. Most projects are like kind of contained like a protocol or a chain. There's one, maybe Jupiter. They're trying to like yeah the Jupiverse. They're trying to like build a brand out of that. It's still in the works. Like, what are your thoughts on brands in crypto? Do you think like can this kind of thing be not mimic, but like can other projects, and chains kind of follow in this footsteps, or is just kind of like only Pudgies?
Yeah, I was at Van Eck, and somebody was like, "You guys are RWA," and I was like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way. Like, you're a real world brand, and you're an RWA, and it's like kind of cool." And I was like, "Ah, that was an interesting perspective." Um, I totally think it's possible. I actually think, so like I kind of talk about this. I have an article that's written about this, which is like, okay, you look at let's just take just Pengu as the token, for example. Like Pengu and its principle is a meme coin, right? But a meme coin as you know it, like what do meme coins as you know it today? They're, a community, a picture, some memes. They don't really do anything. They're not progressive. They're not creating attention. They're not creating demand. Some do try, right? But it's like corny and like, I haven't seen anybody do that well, I think, my opinion. Like it's not brand aligned. It's like super fragmented. Um, and so I kind of coined this term, which is like meme coins. You have like this like baby Charizard, which is a meme coin, super powerful. But like an evolved Charizard is like a social currency. And a social currency is kind of like a way of saying like brand token, but it's like more Lindy and I think has like more tentacles because I also think like brand token is a little condensed because like I think social currency is both like a meme and a brand token in a sense. But I think specifically for memes, I think memes are going to have to evolve into becoming, these social currency brand-esque tokens because memes have an issue and a fundamental flaw in how they're built, which is there's this narrative around memes, and I think people are evolving and maturing outside of this narrative, which is like memes should be, the second a meme does something, it's bad. But, that sounds ridiculous because if I put Blue Pengu on the shelves of Walmart and Target, right, and Blue Pengu is a clip on your favorite celebrities, backpack or Birkin, and you see Blue Pengu on Netflix and Hulu and Blue Pengu as number one on the App Store, and you see all of these things like that's demand creation and conviction building, right? So, for example, like if I go and put Blue Pengu on a Netflix streaming network, the headlines, the impression that crypto is going to galvanize around that, because that would be a top 5 moment for crypto all time, in my opinion, right? Especially if we tied in blockchain in some way and there was like, a Pengu redemption at the end of the movie or something. But like if I did that, right, it would be a top 5 moment in crypto, top 10 moment for sure, even for the top 10 moment in crypto, I think. It would create huge amounts of impressions and demand, right? So, and then the existing holder base will have so much conviction that they won't want to sell. So let's just understand how tokens go up, right? Tokens go up based off of a very simple model that is supply and demand, right? Supply is controlled by the amount of conviction that holders have and how much they're willing to sell, right? If they have a ton of conviction, if they're really proud and excited about what a project's doing, then they're selling less, right? They have conviction. So supply is tighter. Well, then on the other side of it, it also creates huge amounts of demand, right? So, everyone talking about Pudgy Penguins being on Netflix, watching it with their family, all the whales and institutions sitting around with the family watching this movie, right? Creates huge amounts of demand. Well, strong conviction and tight supply with huge demand, you know, you know what that creates, right? Like that creates huge moves to the upside. And like, and like, things like that, right? Like movies and TV and games and like product, like only memes can do that. Only NFTs can do that. Like nobody else in crypto is in position to do that. And what that is that's invading the hearts and minds of retail, right? Retail doesn't care about your canonical bridge and like your fucking, L1 fucking, paralyzed, whatever. Like no one cares. No one cares. Right? Like retail's not going to froth at the mouth for that. They're not going to pile in for that. They're not going to make Reddit threads on that, right? It's just there's no mass market scale. Memes specifically more so than NFTs, because NFTs are non-fungible and less liquidity, pro and a con for many reasons. We won't get into that. But meme tokens specifically have a unique opportunity to do something for crypto that very few, honestly, not even very few, that nobody else can do. And that's kind of the playbook that I wanted to set with Pudgy and kind of inspire other memes who have these ginormous valuations to actually be progressive, right? Some of these guys will like put something on a jersey or hire a marketing agency, but it's lame, right? Build this like a Silicon Valley organization, because if you look at Pudgy, it's built like that, right? If you actually spend 15 minutes going around all of Pudgy's socials, really chat GBTing it and understanding the full scope of it, you will understand not only is it unparalleled and is it unequivocally the face of crypto and the most highly impression memed and the biggest brand and all of the above. It's actually operational excellence, like personified through this blue penguin. It is a masterclass in entrepreneurship, truly. And I don't say that lightly, because when that wasn't true, I didn't say that. And I can tell you, with 100 people in this org, and if you there's accounts, Pudgy Penguin accounts that you wouldn't even know exist, like Kind PENGU on YouTube. Just go search that, right? Go search Kind PENGU on YouTube. I got 10 of those, right? 10 things with 1 million subs that you didn't even know existed, that are just proliferating and getting insane amount of impressions and creating love and affinity. And honestly, when you look at these channels as a crypto user, as somebody who's just passionate about crypto, you should feel proud, right? Like you should feel proud when you see these things, because nobody else is doing it. So, I went on a big long tangent off of your question, but the long story short is like I want to inspire and I want to set the playbook for what these things need to become and what they should become and what they should be. Obviously, our success is going to be really important because crypto is a game of following the leader. So I really hope we succeed for a lot of reasons. But as a crypto purist, I hope we succeed because I know we're doing everything the right way. And I know that if we succeed and if we're the blue chip and we're the number one meme and we're the hottest thing in the space, that everyone's going to follow the leader. Just like Ethereum, right? Everyone follows Ethereum. Now everyone follows Solana. Crypto is it's frustrating for a lot of reasons, but a lot of people just tend to follow where the value accrues. And if and when Pudgy Penguins becomes the number one meme in the world and the number one brand in crypto, which it already is, and one of the top brands in the world, I think you will see a huge paradigm shift where these meme coin communities and founders, instead of just lining their pockets, they'll actually try to be like, look, like we can make a couple $1 million here, but we should put the couple million that we made back and we should try to go do what Pudgy did, because that thing is worth tens of billions of dollars. And that's what's possible. And we saw Luca and team do it. And we saw that thing from the ground up. Right. And so I actually think these social currencies, brands, IPs, out of these memes and NFTs are a great way to start into that. I think that is the future. I mean, it's so obvious to me. I don't know how everyone doesn't see it. Like I don't know how Pudgy Penguins and PENGU isn't already number one, if I'm being frank, because it is so like obvious. Like obviously, if you're worth a couple $billion and you're an IP and you're a meme, you should be doing video games and mobile games and desktop games and movies and TV shows and huge Instagram content and TikTok content, and you should be a force of public good, and you should be helping people, and you should be doing events in every major crypto event. You should do crazy blockbuster collaborations, like you should be in a McDonald's Happy Meal. You should, right? Like you should be in Walmart, you should be in Target. Like, isn't that obvious? Like, because at one point, like, we were worth more than Star Wars, right? And a lot of people in crypto just degen mindset, like, oh yeah. Like, no, that's a huge responsibility, right? Like Pudgy Penguins, when we first launched for the first couple of weeks, was worth more than Star Wars. I don't take that lightly, right? Like that is not a oh degen market. Like, no, dude, like that's a responsibility. That's an opportunity for growth. That's leverage, right? That's leverage to walk into Warner Bros. Like I have the nuts, because I do, you know, that's leverage to go and get deals done. And nobody really looks at it that way. And it's just fascinating to me how like how how behind, how momentous and important meme coins are to crypto and will be for the until crypto, unless crypto shuts down, it will be a pivotal part for the ecosystem. But everyone has these like really lame visions, right? Like lame. I'm just being frank. I just see these meme coins and I'm like, you're not dreaming big enough. You don't want it. You don't see the potential, right? You don't see the world domination that can transpire out of these crypto nucleuses. And if they do see the vision, they're just not built to execute on it, which I empathize for, to be frank, because there's a couple guys that I know see that vision and they just don't have the team and the crew and like the community that like to really back that. And that's why I think we're in that situation where like I feel a huge weight of responsibility, because man, if we pull off what I know we can pull off and we have all the ingredients, I mean the dish is ready to be served, we will change crypto forever. And if everyone follows us, because I know some of these meme teams, man, some of these guys have made way too much money. They will see the potential and they will pour so much back into the ecosystem. And I think it will be a glorious moment for crypto culture, specifically on-chain crypto culture, in a way that I think, to be frank, I think Pudgy's the only swing at it. And if we swing and we hit a home run, you will see this emergence of like every meme will be a brand, like it should.
This episode is brought to you by Pendle. Pendle is a leading protocol in the DeFi yield sector, operating as a permissionless yield trading protocol, facilitating the tokenization and splitting of any yield-bearing assets in DeFi. This allows users to speculate on future yield or earn a fixed rate on their assets. Learn more at pendle.finance.
Brain rot, perfect example. Biggest, they're all turning into brands, right? And so that's my tangent. I went on a long one, but hopefully that gave you
Oh, that was great.
ability.
Yeah, that was very good. That was a very good confident spiel. Confident for a reason. Yeah, like as you mentioned, you can back it up now. I did not. Yeah, I did not know that the valuation crossed Star Wars. That's a very interesting way to look at
Yeah,
it.
Lucasfilm sold for $4 billion. Pudgy Penguins at one point was worth $4.5 billion. Think
Did not,
about
yeah, I
that.
think
Like Whiff,
th-
that's not
that is
just me.
pretty
Whiff did the
significant.
same thing, right? Whiff was at 5 billion, but like, dude, that's a responsibility, man. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta go and do something with that. Even now, right? Pudgy's worth 1.3 billion. That's a huge responsibility, right? Like, we have like if I don't do a movie and I don't do TV show and I like put me on a rope and hang me, dude, because what am I doing? Right? Like, what that, like, I know it doesn't make, it's just me maybe, but that I think all of these guys, not just us, right? There's a lot of guys who are in that bucket that need to be doing these things, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean that was a very like impassioned way to put it. Yeah, it's like kind of inspiring. Yeah, I mean, especially for memes in particular, right? Like, it's not even some of these are like small teams. It's obviously much like they're not building out like world class infrastructure or something that is very, but their valuations are able to fetch that level. And I mean, there's a bunch of teams that are memes and non memes as well that are yeah like they're valued higher than like Denny's, Art, like all these like B C tier things, but they're like yeah from like an IP standpoint and like recognized by everyone, right? And then there's like dozens of like random projects valued multiples higher. So I think it's definitely a good way to put things in perspective. And it's not like the comps in crypto is usually just like, okay, what what's my valuation comp versus my competitor, instead of like zooming out a little bit, just a little bit. And yeah, as you mentioned, meme like there definitely is something special with meme coins. I mean, you saw it originally with, like the meme stocks first, but yeah, meme coins definitely can capture attention better than like anything else in crypto. Like I think actually in Thailand they have like one championship. It's like fights, right? It's like UFC. They have Sui as a sponsor on the mat. I remember I saw that. I was with like some crypto folks as well. We just like have a chuckle or whatever. It was like, is there any, you know what I mean? Like, is anyone resonating with that little Sway ad? Like, is there any developers in the crowd that are going to be like, oh, I'm going to build an app on Sway now after seeing that? I don't know. I feel like the answer is like probably not. But yeah, meme coins definitely can capture the attention in a way that nothing else can in crypto. And you mentioned like on the tail end, you mentioned games as well. Yeah, you have Pudgy World, you have like you have multiple games actually. Can you just spend like not too much time, but yeah, can we touch on that a little bit? Because I know Web3 gaming is not like it's kind of fizzled out a little bit. You know, you had like Axie, you had Pixels. Yeah, can you kind of just walk me through like why you chose games? Is that part of like yeah, you got games, movies? Like why did you choose Web3 games in particular?
The beautiful about like a social currency, and it's like I want to put it because I want to inspire people. Because when the first 6 months of Pudgy, we were trying to define what our company was. We were like, are we a toy company? Are we a crypto company? We couldn't define it. And it was actually really easy to define. We're an IP business, right? And so the beauty about an IP business is it's everything, right? Because an IP business does products, does movies, does TV shows, does games, right? And so the beauty too about like a meme social currency is actually its ability to capture narratives if it's progressive and forward thinking, because it's like, to the point, right? We're not a gaming token, but PENGU might be available like as something to use in a game somewhere, right? And might just be able to buy some things with it, right? And it will be integrated. And like that's the beauty of I think the opportunity. So to the gaming point, we have two hero games. Well, we have three games right now. One, it's already out there, PENGU Clash, Telegram casual game, wagering, super simple loop, but we're trying to pioneer a little bit what Telegram gaming can be, because Telegram gaming as we know it, or as we knew it, was just tap to earn, and it was just horrible, right? Like no one liked that. I think from our perspective though, like we're trying to create some game loops and create some fun there. And I think Pengu Clash is a fun one. Many people don't really know it, but it's got 1 million people playing it every single month. So but it's fun. And I encourage, if you're a Telegram user and you're just, on a train and or on a, in a car and an Uber, it's a great little thing to play. You can make some money. It's a cool game. We've been working on a AAA game, basically a $10 million plus budget, in partnership with Mythical Games. Mythical Games has two blockbuster games with FIFA and NFL Rivals. They have, I think close to 10 million downloads across the two properties. One of the best game developers, I would say the best game developer in my opinion, at least for mobile and crypto, not even close. And we had been working on a game called Pudgy Party for the last year and a half. And Pudgy Party set to release August 29th. It is like a Mario Kart, Fall Guys, Stumble Guys type of game in terms of like gameplay. Just play with your friends, competitive, action-packed. And it's really a game that we're going to try to swing really hard at. It's one that I think is our first real crack at having a scalable product that I think could go from 0 to 10 million users in a week. And it's one that we are not taking lightly. So it's going to be a big moment. I'm going for number one across all apps on the App Store. So hold me accountable to it. If and when that happens, clip this, post it, and be like, dude, he did it. Because I'm in the business of doing what I say. So I'm very confident. Nobody in crypto has done that before. We've been number one in finance, right? We've been number one in certain categories. Nobody's been number one across all applications. And I think we can do it. I think if anyone can do it, it's us. And you can pre-register for it now. So, anybody listening, pre-register for it. Go to App Store, Pudgy Party, search it up, pre-register. Would help the algo just a little. But nonetheless, we are releasing that August 29th, and I'm super excited about that. We have another game that's been in prod for 2.5 years. We've been building that in-house. I'm like 1.5 years, 2 years late on it. So the community loves me though. So they don't give me shit. It's actually the game that's tied to the toys. So if anybody's ever bought a Pudgy toy, you'll see this QR code. You buy the toy, scan the QR code. You're taking a Pudgy World. You put an email and a password. You're given a custody wallet. You then redeem NFTs through a gasless experience. And then you're brought into like this little lobby, and it doesn't really do anything. It's like a dead lobby. And that lobby has like these doors, and these doors are supposed to open up to Pudgy World, and like Pudgy World's been taking just too long. It's pretty epic though. So Pudgy World to us is like our version of Club Penguin in like 2025. Desktop only, 3D environment, super fun. You know, but it's been a bitch build, and we've spent a ton of money building it. Probably like $6-7 million here at this point. And it has to see the light of day this year. I told the guys it's been too long. I just need to, you know, it either sees the light as the world's next Club Penguin, or it sees the light as a community hangout, right? Regardless, it sees the light, you know, because I think we've been having some troubles with the game loop. But regardless, we've been beta testing. The beta testers have been helping us. Core community's been in there, really giving us a helping hand. But the core game loop needs to get a little better, and you know, but it's visually beautiful. The experience is beautiful. We've never built games before, and this is like our in-house build. So we pulled this off, man. I'm putting myself on the Mount Rushmore of crypto, because that thing is that thing has the potential to be huge just because of the nerve that is Club Penguin, right? Just everyone's screaming into the stream, next Club Penguin, next Club Penguin. You already know where that's going to go. That could be ginormous. With mobile, you can't really do that because it's harder to stream. So I really am hopeful for this Pudgy world to work out. I really am. And I'm bullish. I mean, there's a lot of great ingredients. We just got to get the game loop right, which I'm trying to bring the best in the world right now for this next 6-month sprint to finalize that game loop, because we got everything else figured out. But those are our 2-3 gaming properties. Outside of those three, probably won't, you know, we're going to do like little mini games on Abstract. You'll see this from us over the coming months. But those are like very simple. Like we'll take PENGU Clash to Abstract, things like that.
Yeah, and for the listeners, I think it's very important to highlight, like, just in the past, 5 minutes, you probably just gave like multiple things. Yeah, probably like at least two things right there, and like each of these could probably be their own
Their own
individual project, and
organization,
like
and that's what I'm
yeah,
telling you,
like
right?
a new team, like new rounds, like all of that. This was basically the realization I came to in like the brief prep for this pod. And I think people will discover very quickly that like just how much stuff there actually is underneath the like whole Pudgy Penguins Igloo ecosystem. Like it's actually crazy. But yeah, so I mean, speaking of all the stuff, like we haven't even really didn't discuss the actual chain yet. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the abstract chain. So I think, I mean, for a long time we had like a lot of these like general purpose type chains. It's like, okay, let's try to max out like the performance, and then like yeah, we'll just see if people come. Like if they hope they come. If not, oh well. Then you have app chains now. You have Hyperliquid, like very established apps. They already found a bunch of users. And then they're thinking like, okay, now I can make my own chain. You guys, I feel like abstract doesn't really fit in either of these molds. Like, what was the rationale to kind of like, yeah, tell the team like, okay, I think this makes a lot of sense. Yeah, to just walk it through that initial ideation process for the abstract chain.
How it came to be was a bunch of chains were offering us like $20-30 million to build in their ecosystem, and I was like, why? This is insane. And then I started to take it a deep dive, and I was like, well, the chain is commoditized, right? Everyone does the chains all perform the same function. One's a little faster, one's a little slower. 5 years from now, they'll all be the same speed, they'll all be doing the same thing, right? So I was like, well, you know, what is really then a moat, right? Well, let's run that same analysis through LLMs, right? Like LLMs, one is a little better than the other, sure, but like they all get to the same answer relatively. In 5 years, they will all get to the same answer within a 99.999% degree of separation, right? So like who's winning the LLM race? Well, right now, the LLM race is being won by ChatGPT, and it's why? Because they got the brand, they got the community, and they got the consumer interface, right? So like if blockchains and LLMs are following the same path, where it's like, well, we have the brand, we have the community, we didn't have the consumer interface, but we feel like we build front end best in class, right? All of our front end, and go to all of our websites, go to Igloo, we have best in class front end, right? And design, and kudos to Peter, because I think he's one of the best in the world. So from our perspective, like and then I thought, well, and then I also started looking at these chains, and I was like, all of these guys are building general purpose, but that's totally contrarian to like entrepreneurship, first principles. Like, you don't build general purpose. You don't say, I'm gonna go build the next internet economy and just like start as the next internet economy. You start off as like, I'm gonna build a city, and I'm gonna start with an attraction, one main attraction. My main attraction is fun. I'm trying to build the most fun place in crypto, but I got to start with the most fun place in EVM, because EVM needs some fun, and it needs fun desperately. It's boomer central, right? And so, like, if EVM is going to win, that's why Solana's won, right? As of recent, because Solana's the fun chain, right? EVM lost because it's boomer central. Everyone's just booming around, just talking about shit that dinosaur land, right? We got to go bring the fun back to EVM. We've got to and then I saw the opportunity. I was like, well, we got the brand, we got the community, we have the best front end. I believe, just so you are aware, I believe there's this decentralization psyop. I think from a chain, I think there's two different objectives when you're building a chain. You're trying to build a decentralized network state, which like Ethereum is, and that's really important to humanity, right? Like, that is, I'm never going to underestimate and underplay how important Ethereum's decentralization to humanity truly is. You need payment rails that are centralized that nobody can fuck with. And Ethereum is by far, no one's even close to getting to that point than them. But decentralization and consumer adoption are not synonymous. They're antonyms. They mean opposite things, right? Because look at the most decentralized social network. The most decentralized social network out there is called 4chan, right? Look how that played out. The most centralized social networks are like Instagram and Twitter, right? Like, look how that's working, right? They're not synonymous. You can't build you can't push consumer adoption and really move the needle like a fast horse, right? Solana proved this, even though I think Solana is more decentralized than people give it credit for. I actually believe, though, the innovations on the front end, I think the front end needs to be centralized, meaning, like, can you use abstract without using Portal? Totally, right? The docs like are open source, everything you can plug in easily. But I believe in one central destination that somebody can go to, a barista, a waiter, a mom, a family member, that they can just click to and do everything on chain, right? One website. I don't need to go figure it out. I just go to one website, click it, right? Portal needs to be rebranded because we don't like the branding, but one website. If you go to Portal, you got your wallet, you put your email, you're in, you fund quick, you can trade, you can play apps. You don't need to go anywhere else. It's your source of truth, right? So the navigation and the curation and the experience is seamless. It's super understandable, super digestible. You don't need to put pieces of a puzzle together, right? It's not fragmented. It's there, right? And it exists. And then I was thinking to ourselves, I was like, so I believed in that vision, and no one built that vision. We started that, and now everyone's building it. All the chains are trying to build their own version of Portal, which is great, because that's how I know. I learned this at Pudgy. When people start copying us, I know we're on the right path. So I really appreciate that them affirming what I knew to be true, because now I know like 6 or 7 chains are doing this. And so it's a super app model. The way to conceptualize this is a super app for a chain and an ecosystem. I think the big thing we're working on now is our core killer feature. So there's an issue with this plan, is there needs to be a core reason why everybody comes back outside of like apps or whatever. Like, there needs to be a core loop. And that's what I think we're solving, and you'll see a ship over the coming months that I'm super excited about. But we got here because, people were giving us a ton of money. I then started looking under their hoods and realized that they were doing nothing special, that they were giving me all this money because I was actually bringing 10, 20, 30 times that value back, right? Because they really had nothing going for them. And then I understood that there was a lot of innovation and a lot of room to build, specifically for this Gen Z, Gen Alpha that I think we speak to really well, that I felt like a lot of chains weren't building, and I felt like no one was owning fun. And then I saw the opportunity. So the same opportunity that I saw in NFTs, right, where I was like, the bar is still kind of low here. The valuations are incredibly high and people aren't really doing it right. After I started picking apart all of these deals and looking under the hood of all these chains and really thinking about it, I was like, dude, the same opportunity to win in blockchains is present the same way that the opportunity presented itself for NFTs, right? And now the same opportunity has presented itself for memes, right? Abstract was actually before the whole meme coin thing. We did the meme coin thing start to finish in 5 weeks, just because I knew I had a gut reaction. My gut told me we had to do it. But the whole thesis is like, there's an opportunity here. I still don't think people are building it right, and the hope is that we go in and we build it the way that I know it needs to be built, and we do the same thing that we did with Pudgy, and we'll do the same thing we're doing with PENGU, which is like set the bar on how these things should be built, or at least do them in a way that I think is fun, exciting, net new. And if all we do is capture fun in crypto, I think the TAM there is big enough and the value accrual is big enough that the thing will be worth tens of billions of dollars. And the hope would be we win fun and then we expand to be general purpose and then we go be the biggest and best blockchain out there, which I think is possible. But obviously, don't want to put the cart above the horse. We have to win fun first. We have to capture that value and then move on to the next.
Yeah, great explanation. I think it was good to highlight like the bringing fun to the EVM. Yeah, like you said, it very much is like that boomer type mentality on EVM. I mean, you have ETCC going on right now, and yeah, I mean it's good to highlight like that. But you got to still respect, like everything that that Ethereum has brought, because you could just go right to Solana, like you said yourself. You could just go right to Solana, Pengu token. It's on Solana. You could build your own chain on Solana, but instead you can kind of like, okay, we'll bring this fun. We'll bring our brand, make our own chain on Ethereum instead. So, and we're coming up on time here. Let's
there to disrupt, in my opinion, is on EVM. Hate to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
If anyone's going to bring fun back to the EVM, which I think is a lot more important than people think, it's going to be us. Like, there's no other group that I think is going to bring fun back. But you keep going. I just wanted to intersect there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anyone that's like actually competing in the same realm. I mean, maybe like go back 4 years, like apes, Bored Apes, stuff like maybe. But yeah, in 2025, I really don't see that. But I mean, yeah, in 2025, you also have modular chains. Like it's easier than ever to spin up a new chain. So you would think maybe some people would try to experiment in that realm. Yeah, let's sneak in one last question. Let's talk a little bit about Portal. You mentioned you said you're actually looking to rebrand it maybe. But yeah, for the audience, like what actually is Portal? What is it doing that's maybe a little bit more intuitive for new users than other chains, instead of like just letting, okay, like here's our chain, here's some apps, like go have fun. Like, yeah, walk me through the thought process behind Portal.
So Abstract is our Anthropic, it's our blockchain to the LLM, right? And Portal is our Claude. It's our consumer interface in which the consumer interacts with. I think it's the first time that a blockchain outside of World Chain. So World Chain's the only chain that's thinking this exact same light, because basically our chain lives through the portal. You can go use World Chain somewhere else, but basically World Chain lives through the World app. I think their difference is their Sybil resistance, right? They know exactly unique users, which I think is exciting. But, I think they're also under indexing that, like, there's a lot of, like, when you own the central interface, like the app, right? You can filter to some degree the Sybils, because, like, to some degree, but not nearly as good as World, because you can't fake eyeballs, which is good. But we're principally aligned here. And so I think the principle and we see the same vision, which is like, dude, you're really not going to get something with hundreds of millions of users if it's just like download MetaMask and like go to Uniswap and like connect the wallet and like that's a broken system. The learning curve of the average person, everyone assumes, I think, defaults in this space because they're super smart. Like the net IQ, I think, is higher than the net IQ of the regular person for people in crypto. Is like they just assume that that's like, yeah, it's a good experience. It's not, right? Like you should. It's this idea that you should be able to navigate the entire ecosystem through one portal, through one interface. Because again, you use the 4chan example. 4chan is kind of like crypto today if you compare it. You put, you can navigate here, you click there, can be super helpful. You click the wrong thing, you go down the wrong rabbit hole. It can be very harmful and very scary. In crypto's case, you could lose all your money, right? It's not good. Like curation is synonymous with consumer adoption. Consumer experience is synonymous with consumer adoption. You can't control the experience if you're outsourcing the entire experience to third parties. It looks different, it feels different. It's a bad consumer experience. One's dark mode, your wallet's light mode, the trading experience is dark mode. Doesn't make any sense, right? It's not how you win in consumer, right? And so you have to just frankly control it. Now, the beautiful thing about this, and this is my last point, because I will have to hop, and my computer's actually at 5%, so it might be a good time. But I think actually people are underestimating the business model that this is. So because I own all the different parts and I own the interface, I own the business model. And people don't know this, but the chain business model is a horrible business model. And it's a business model that really requires you to sell to TGE, sell tokens to keep the chain afloat and live. That's why most chains are down only, right? Because you basically have to sell the tokens to fund the infra and the expense that is maintaining the chain. So it's actually not a sustainable flywheel. With Portal, I can make money 10 different ways, right? Once I hit escape velocity, I can make money on trading. I can make money on sequencer fees. I can make money on streaming fees. I can make money on apps. There's 10 different ways that I can make money on Portal. That is exciting because one, it puts us in a position where the token can be healthy, puts us in a position where we can buy back and burn the token, right? Which is like a hot narrative, right? And it puts us in a position where we're self-sustaining and we're progressive and we're actually running a real enterprise business. Because right now, blockchains, with the exception of one or two, have zero enterprise value and are big fat giant liabilities that are basically going to, 90% of them are going to implode once they run out of tokens to stop selling, right? And there's different business models for this. The super chain models, like get everybody in and give us our fee, right? But you have to make money. I think the money is going to be made, and the most money can be made on an actual interface, right? Because if you own the consumer experience, I can go create a new feature tomorrow, plug it into Portal, everyone will use it, they'll spend money on it, and then we can capture that revenue and that value. So I think I promise you, you'll hear it here first, Daniel, and it's important that everyone knows we did this first. We innovated this shit because it's important for me. It's important for my own ego. We fucking did this first. Everyone's going to do this. Every blockchain, with the exception of Ethereum, maybe Solana might not do it because they have so much market share. But if you're not those two, you have to do this, right? Because those guys already have like a first to mover advantage. This is where this stuff is going. Because if it's not going in this direction, it doesn't make any financial and fiscal sense, if I'm being frank.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. I know you have to jump off, but really great job at explaining just the why that model is so attractive. Like not even just for users, but also for the teams, for the foundation behind these chains. And yeah, so I think this is a great way to end off the episode. I have a feeling like in 5-6 months, going to be a whole bunch of new changes. Maybe we got to run it back. But yeah, I know you're gonna jump. Thank you, Luca. This is a great episode. If you're listening, go check out Pudgy Penguins and Abstract Chain. Thank you, guys.